So another edition of the Heel to Face podcast is on the air. I am wearing a WrestleMania 5 shirt. WrestleMania 4 and 5 have some sort of significance of what happened this week, I guess locationally. We'll talk about that when we open up the show, as well as we head into the Elimination Chamber. Roman Reigns, the last stop. Hold on. Not the last stop, but at least the last time we'll know who he's facing at WrestleMania after this week. Well, no. Apparently, whoever wins this Elimination Chamber match also gets the face for the championship tonight. We'll talk all that and much more. He's Brandon. I'm Jared. This is the Heel to Face podcast.
Fans celebrate with me from Rome to Rochester.
Bad luck seems to be my middle name. They might as well tag me up with my buddies from Syracuse.
So the Heel to Face podcast is on the air. We are heading into the Elimination Chamber. He's Brandon. I'm Jared. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. He's Icebreaker21. I'm at KRockJared. And we head into the Elimination Chamber where we have a championship match on the line. We have a number one contendership, for which you would probably think means we're going to finally find out who's facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. But no, they're going to face him that night. So we'll talk that and much, much more. But we'll get started on why I teased at the beginning of the show. WrestleMania 4 and 5. I'm wearing the WrestleMania 5 shirt if you're watching us on YouTube. And while technically the home of those WrestleManias was not torn down, aka imploded yesterday, they kind of were. So if you remember WrestleMania 4 and 5, they took place from Boardwalk Hall, but the sponsor of the pay-per-view, and more importantly, the hotel that was connected to the event, got a lot more of the press, aka Trump Plaza. Well, it went out of business many years ago, and actually coming home yesterday morning, I didn't even know it was implosion day. I was in Atlantic City. I spent a couple days there, and I took a picture of the place as they were tearing it down, and at 9:30, it was leveled. It was all gone. WrestleMania's home, 4 and 5, at least Trump Plaza's home. The real reason I think they were there, I mean, the arena's nice and all, but the real reason what brought them to Atlantic City, what brought Tyson to Atlantic City, was the Trump Plaza, as well as all the other great casinos. Trump influenced himself at the time, bringing in all the money, all the celebrities.
Got that right.
But the place is now gone. Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino completely leveled. Atlantic City itself, I mean, obviously, it is not a city that you would think WrestleMania 4 and 5 or Monday Night Raw it even happens in, but
it's definitely
it's a different place.
It's a different place. I mean, I was there about 15 years ago, and even then it wasn't that great. It's been going downhill since, unfortunately, and hopefully, I don't know. I mean, I haven't been there in 15 years, but maybe we'll see a revitalization someday.
The revitalization that could take place in Atlantic City would have to circle around not casinos. You got to reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's obviously the big thing. Trump himself kind of ruined Atlantic City with his invention of Trump Taj Mahal, I think, which opened in 1990, which then took business from Trump Plaza. And that was just the start of then the rolling, obviously, Philadelphia opening up some casinos, New York City area opening up casinos, Delaware opening up casinos, and then the role of too much gambling and not a reason for people to have to travel to Atlantic City. And now it looks like... I guess, locally, if you know Utica, New York, if you mix Utica, New York with Detroit, it's kind of got that feel with some casinos. I actually did stay while I was there. I stayed at the Trump Taj Mahal, which at the time it opened was the world's largest casino. And I did stay there. It is not the Trump Taj Mahal anymore. It is the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. It doesn't actually have anything they pretty much gutted the whole place. The towers still exist. Obviously, the structure itself is still the same. But that's one of the guts. Yeah. That's one of the only casinos that have actually opened in the last 5 years. Everything else is going on the outward spiral. I would like to see, sticking to wrestling, it would be awesome if like SummerSlam could go there, because the arena still exists. The arena is still big enough. Obviously, regardless of how great Atlantic City's doing, it's not big enough for WrestleMania anymore. You need more than a 15,000 seat arena. But if you could bring SummerSlam there, or the modern day Tyson equivalent UFC fights, bring them there.
That'd be good.
Stuff like that. That is what helped that city grow at the time, was the events, the Miss America pageants, what brought people to the city. So UFC is one of those. SummerSlam is one of those. And what I mean by SummerSlam is that you would be able to book a whole week's worth of events. And by booking a whole week's worth of events, you're going to put the light post, because I've been to WrestleManias and other places. You put the wrestlers on the light post to kind of advertise throughout the city. And some of those light posts could use some sort of, even if it's wrestlers, whatever it is. I mean, it's got banners that are faded and falling off or empty and falling down. So if you could jazz it up with some new advertisements, I don't care what it is, but just put a sticker pretty much on everything.
Hell, at this point, I'll take even like one of those monthly pay-per-views. I am okay with that.
Well, I'm just saying anything that you could take a billboard place right now that has nothing on it, because that's the thing. Atlantic City is full of like billboard spaces that are just empty. So if you could have something to advertise SummerSlam, meaning tell SummerSlam comes to Atlantic City, start advertising it in like April. Put a big banner up and just cover that place up and just hype it up for months and months and months. And all those places where a light post used to have a banner that said something like greetings from Atlantic City or an event coming to town. It's something to put there, something to get amped up about. And then obviously the event of hotel rooms. You got a convention center there. I mean, it'd be a reason to clean up the city. That's all I'm saying. It'd be a reason to get out there and spit shine the boardwalk. That's all I'm just saying.
I'd be okay with that. I'm on board. Plus, it's it's not that far away from where we're at here in upstate New York. So it's a hop and a skip. What is it, like 4 hours?
Oh, yeah, about 4.5 hours, yes, to Atlantic City. So hopefully someday it can reinvent itself. But as of right now, the home of WrestleMania 4 and 5, Trump Plaza, I imagine where the wrestlers at the time stayed, was in the Trump Plaza Hotel. It is all gone, but wrestling, that's still going on. Vince McMahon's still around. Donald Trump's still around. And we head into the Elimination Chamber.
Did you say Donald Trump's still around?
He's still around. I mean,
that's a whole nother tangent we can get into another day.
But we're going to talk, before we get into Elimination Chamber, some stuff that happened in the world of wrestling this week. Kayfabe or no, O'Reilly really hurt having a seizure. Lacey Evans really pregnant. What do you think?
Negative negative on both fronts. I think they're both just it's part of the show. That's what I say. If you're not a wrestling fan and you're just tuning in for the first time, it's all part of the show. I don't think both medical situations, I don't think they are real whatsoever.
Both got a lot of play this week as being legitimate. There was a lot of play for a lot of people saying Lacey Evans. She actually, on the Wikipedia page for the Elimination Chamber, she was removed from the match this upcoming Sunday as somebody would replace her. But as soon as I went to WWE.com themselves and saw that she was still on their page, that gives away to me that she is not legitimately pregnant outside of the Ric Flair storyline. And then as for Kyle O'Reilly, obviously the fact that there's been some more talking since last night's NXT show kind of proves that the end of the show, he had Triple H come out and watch him as he got stretchered to give it the more legitimate feel. Yes. But rumors are coming out that, that is not an injury. It is more like he was more mad at the people who caused the injury, a.k.a. he's not going anywhere. He's going to keep this storyline going as the Undisputed Era. I mean, I'm wearing the shirts and Mega Powers explode. I mean, how about this? The Undisputed Era explodes.
Well, here's the thing. There's two great takeaways from that. Number one, I mean, would anybody be surprised if Ric Flair, was going to have another kid at this point? I mean, it's Ric freaking Flair. I think we all know anything's possible.
Ric Flair can have a kid at any time.
Yes, he can. I mean, Hugh Hefner's done that, so we know.
I think it'd be more legitimate. I mean, Lacey Evans is younger. She is still somebody who actually, and that's one of these things you have to put into consideration with these female wrestlers. They are not like the male wrestlers. They are young. That is why they're able to wrestle. They are still in their athletic prime, but while you're still young is the same time that your biological clock ticks, and you also need to have a kid. So it's not like with guys when they can say, football players, athletes, when I'm in my 40s, I'll do this, I'll do that. With women, while they are in the prime of their careers, they also have to have kids because both are simultaneously.
Yeah, they make a decision whether they go full on career or they take some breaks like Becky Lynch.
I mean, you have to. I mean, Becky, she can't choose to have a kid after her career because then she wouldn't be able to have a kid as long as she has a long career, a decent career.
And remember, Stephanie McMahon or Stephanie Levesque, she's got 3 daughters with Triple H, and what did she do for a long time? She was a mother. She still is a mother. Let me not get that twisted, but she was raising her children, as they were at the young age. And guess what? Did you see her on TV much for a while? You didn't, because she was raising the 3 kids. Once they got to a certain age, she got back in and she was more on camera, as we know. And obviously, being that the powerhouse that she is in a business sense. And I do want to add, though, the whole Undisputed Era thing, I think is fantastic. I'm enjoying it. It's sad that we couldn't see Undisputed Era together on the main roster, but I'm okay with it because I really do think Kyle O'Reilly, I think he's outgrown the Undisputed Era. I think he is ready to be on his own. He's ready to be a main event player. Even in just in NXT at this point, but I do think eventually he will get the call up to the main roster, and I think he can swim on his own with the big fish. Obviously, Cole, I agree. I think he can. The jury's still out on Fish and Roderick Strong. I think those guys are solid NXT competitors, but I think the two stars are the ones that had the issue. It was Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, and I think you're going to see a lot of interesting things coming up between Cole and O'Reilly.
If there was, let's say, a takeover the night before WrestleMania, I don't know if there will be, but let's say there is a takeover. Would you put more odds that it's going to be Baylor versus Cole for the championship, or Cole versus O'Reilly and then Baylor facing someone else?
I could see. I mean, honestly,
like,
at this point,
what is Cole? You see him going after Baylor first or O'Reilly first?
Actually, there's two options here, and one option, there's one name we haven't talked about yet. The first option I could see at WrestleMania is a triple threat match. I could see that. I could see Cole, O'Reilly, and Balor, and Finn Balor, as a three-way triple threat match at WrestleMania. Also, what I could see is O'Reilly and Cole facing off one-on-one, and then Finn and Pete Dunne, because they got some unfinished business. Those two have another match at the WrestleMania, the NXT's version of the WrestleMania, or he could probably double dip or double dip.
I imagine Takeover probably won't happen, and then we'll just have these matches happen at WrestleMania.
I agree,
but just for sake saying,
Finn could be Finn could do double duty. I think it's very possible that Finn could do double duty.
Finn has come out this week and said that he would be okay with defending the NXT Championship on both nights 1 and 2 of WrestleMania.
And that's why I love Finn. Finn is one of my favorites. I mean, he's a workhorse. I mean, he unfortunately when he won the Universal title a few years back, he was he got hurt. He literally never lost the title. He had to relinquish it because of injury. So Finn Balor just shows you he's just one of the hardest working guys in the business. So if I'm WWE, if he says he can go, why the hell not? You can really make some good matches with Finn Balor.
Who are you more excited about after Vengeance Day? One was kind of given away on Twitter. One was given away right at the pay-per-view itself. To see an NXT of these two people making their debuts, or supposed to be making their debuts, one who did, LA Knight, who showed up on the pre-show, and then one who was rumored, and all the sources said that she signed a deal, and that's Taya Valkyrie, the wife of John Morrison. So in NXT, who are you more excited to see, LA Knight, formerly Eli Drake, or Taya Valkyrie?
Honestly, it's like splitting hairs, because Taya Valkyrie is going to make that women's division in NXT even stronger, because she's a legit competitor. She's not some diva from old school days. She can go. We've seen her in Impact. I know you've seen more of her than I have, but in the matches that I have
probably
seen,
goes for Eli Drake as well, because his claim to fame is Impact, even though recently he's been on NWA Power.
And here's the thing, and you got me into Power. I watched a little bit of that, and he's good. I mean, what he did, and thank you for the text, by the way, because I would have totally missed it on the pre-show, which was very odd timing, by the way. But I love the fact that he's in NXT. I mean, I'm kind of still trying to figure out LA Knight, like what's this all about? But I'm
trying to figure out the name. So what I'm going to just guess, because his Twitter handles and everything is still Eli Drake, and when he was in Impact, he was Eli Drake. At NWA Power, he was Eli Drake. So I'm going to guess that name has something more or less to do with him. Meaning, I'm not saying he owns the name, but I'm just saying, for the lack of a better term, he owns the name, and I feel that he's going to be LA Knight in WWE, not just because that's what they want him to be, but that's probably better for him as well, because if he became Eli Drake in WWE, the way WWE works, that if he then leaves WWE,
can't use the name anymore.
Then he can't use Eli Drake anymore. Yeah. So I figure he wants to hold on to that name for himself, just in case he needs to do it for indie bookings, go back to Impact, go to AEW. He wants to hold on to that name for himself and then get a WWE name which can stay with WWE.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I agree with you 100%. I think that's the way you want to play it, especially because you are known in the independent circuit for as many years as he has. That's a good move. LA Knight, I'm just kind of trying to figure out, like, where did that name come from? That's what I can't figure out. I mean,
somebody in WWE Creative, I imagine, came up with that.
Interesting.
I bet you it's going to be the NXT version of The Miz, I guess, some sort of Hollywood-esque. But I can imagine, because if he leaves WWE, he then wouldn't be able to use Eli Drake, and obviously he wouldn't be able to use LA Knight because that, let's say, wouldn't have existed. So he'd have to go to AEW as a brand new name.
Yeah.
Or Impact, return to Impact, I guess as a brand new name. So now if he goes to AEW or Impact following WWE, he can be Eli Drake.
And I wonder if he did that, like, in his contract. I assume that he worked that out because, obviously Eli's a pretty smart guy and he's been in the game a long time. He knows how WWE plays. So I'm assuming he got that in writing in the contract. So he's not handcuffed.
But he's still on Twitter and it's funny because they were tagging him NXT. They said, don't forget to follow LA Knight at Eli Drake on Twitter. So that was a little confusion there. But
that's
moving over to AEW, some interesting stuff this week. Exploding barbed wire death match. That's going to be the main event between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley at Revolution. I'm very surprised, that AEW is going this route. We've seen some brutal matches before. We've seen them do some things, but still in the landscape of being a modern wrestling company, it's crazy to see them doing things that seem more like 90s Japan,
ECW.
Early ECW,
Yeah.
even ECW, I guess earlier ECW,
Yeah,
not
earlier.
earlier as in like before pay-per-view days, but still past obviously Eastern Championship Wrestling days.
Yes,
So like
yes.
middle ground days, like more like internet exclusive events that they put on.
Yes.
So it's strange that AEW is going to put on this barbed wire death match because again, it doesn't seem like something that, a WWE-esque company. I know that they're not like WWE and they go out and about, but it's still a mainstay on main television, main pay-per-view. They don't have stockholders and shareholders, but still, it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do, putting on like a TVMA match, I guess, essentially.
And I'm okay with it because you know what? It's different from WWE. I think what they're doing, not only with this death match that's coming up, but the way they do things where you're bringing in Impact, you're bringing in New Japan wrestlers, like you're like, you've broken those like forbidden walls, so to speak. And I don't know if you caught that, but Jim Ross crowned Kenny Omega as the
WWE champion. Yes.
And of course, the internet had a field day with that, and they were saying, "Man, another wall has been broken down by Kenny Omega."
And that obviously I hate that so much because literally, we all make those kind of mistakes. I won't lie. Like, what was literally last night while working at the radio station, I'm doing stuff on the radio and I'm speaking about scoreboard updates and stuff, and I probably misspoke and said somebody's name wrong. So, you get worried about that on a smaller level, and then you just hate that Jim Ross, who's been in it as long as he has been,
it's a
people
human
still
thing.
don't give him the leeway.
Yeah,
and if
him a
they're not
break.
giving him the leeway, it just makes me think, like, crap. I didn't realize that, mistakes can't be made.
Hey.
So it makes me more self-conscious as well.
Even the pros do it, man. The pros do. It happens. It's the human error element. But it was funny that, of course, Twitter and social media and the whole social media realm caught that, and it actually turned out as a positive because they kind of made a joke about Kenny Omega. So I thought that was
Speaking of death matches, Jon Moxley's going to be in something similar. We obviously have talked about him in this before. He's going to be in again this Saturday. Him against Davey Boy Smith Jr. at GCW's Bloodsport 5. We've talked about that before. They have the Josh Barnett Bloodsport. It's that like shoot fighting / wrestling thing. So Jon Moxley keeping himself busy, getting ready for the violence with a match this Saturday night, which he expects to be, I don't know about any explosives, but death match-esque, I guess. There'll be some Crimson Mask and some bloodshed, I guess. It's called Bloodsport.
Mox is just one of those guys. He loves any kind of match, any violence, he's in. That's, to me, he is what I like to call a throwback. He loves the old school style, like we were talking about. He would have fit so well in the 90s with the ECW. He's like the perfect guy, and it's good to see somebody like that still carrying that banner. But he also can still go as a wrestler. He can still put on a good show. He's a technician in the ring, so he's got the total package. That's why he is who he is, and he's one of the best in the business.
For the first time in 6 years, Sting took a bump this week on AEW television to Brian Cage, leading up to the match he's going to have with Brian Cage in a little tag team at Revolution. We talked about this when Sting first came in. It literally was only about 2 months ago. Yeah. Sting came in the AEW, and you were like, he's not going to wrestle, and boom, bang, he's wrestling.
Yeah, I don't know what they did. I don't know how the doctors cleared him for that, but obviously he's okay enough to take a bump from a guy that's a monster in Brian Cage. That wasn't some fluky power bomb. That was pretty good.
After not taking, people obviously stay if you stay in wrestling. So no matter how old you get, you can at least get somewhat used to it. But being his age and having not done it for 6 years, I can only imagine what that first one felt like.
Yeah, I'm wondering if my assumption is he's selling it obviously on camera because they got that cool overhead camera. Part of me is like, maybe this is how he really feels because he's not used to taking these bumps.
Because it's not just you're not used to it. Like if a young person didn't do it for 6 years, but you're also adding those 6 years in between. He went from late 50s to early 60s.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So a lot happens in your body. If he just went 1 year without taking a bump in that kind of span, that would be a big deal.
I'm just glad he didn't break a hip or anything. I'm just glad he wasn't injured. And he took the bump. So here's the thing. I think AEW's smart enough to protect him in a way where he's not going to take too many of those bumps, but I think he'll take enough to get the point across. I think it's going to be fine. I was surprised. I honestly thought he was going to be more of an Arn Anderson role, but I'm okay with it if they do it the right way. I just don't want to see the guy in a wheelchair.
So the Elimination Chamber is this Sunday. The Elimination Chamber, not as exciting as the Royal Rumble, but there are some factoids that go with the Elimination Chamber. Chris Jericho currently is the leader for Elimination Chamber. He has 8 appearances, 10 Elimination Chambers, but he has only won the match one time. Randy Orton, if he wins it this weekend, or at least, well, he's appearing in it this weekend, that'll be the tie for Chris Jericho's record. He has been in it 7 times. John Cena is the only other person who's been in it as many as that. He's been in it 7 times as well. The most victories in the Elimination Chamber belong to Triple H. He has 4. Second to that is John Cena. So John Cena 3 for 7. Chris Jericho only 1 for 8 back in the day. But he does have the most elimination. So
yeah,
8 appearances, 10 Elimination Chambers. It feels like he must have been one of the last 2 men a bunch.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I mean, Chris Jericho has done it absolutely all. I mean, if I were to go back and, and took a guess, I would have said Randy Orton. That's just me, because any stat in the last 20 years, or just in general for wrestling, Randy Orton's probably on there because he's been in the business pretty much straight through 20 years, minus a few injuries and things here and there. But he's been the consistent mainstay all these years, and that's why he's such a constant. That's why I appreciate what Randy Orton does every week. He's just one of those guys that it's going to be a sad day for the business when he does retire, because people are gonna then realize how great he really was.
So this Sunday we'll start with the Raw Championship match, or the WWE Championship match from the Raw side Elimination Chamber. We'll start right there. You got Drew McIntyre. He's the champion, but this will only be his 2nd Elimination Chamber. He has eliminated no one in the Elimination Chamber in his 1 appearance. AJ Styles, he'll be moving into his 3rd Elimination Chamber. Jeff Hardy will be in his 4th. Sheamus will be in his 5th. Kofi Kingston, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I know he's been in, 6. I do have the stats in front of me. 6 Elimination Chambers for Kofi Kingston.
Wow, that's pretty good.
That is a surprise, because we all remember his claim to fame, the Elimination Chamber, right before he won the championship.
Yeah.
But he had been in 4 Elimination,
I didn't realize
3,
that.
or at least 3, because I guess he was maybe in 1 last year as well.
Yeah,
but 3 Elimination Chambers?
One of those has to be a tag one, right? With the New Day?
It's got to be.
It's got to be a New Day one.
But it's crazy to think that, this will be his 6th Elimination Chamber match.
Hey, and could we be doing...
And we're so surprised that he was even in the 1 that we remember very vividly.
Yeah.
There's 5 others he's been a part of.
As Xavier Woods said this week, could it be Kofi Mania Part 2? We'll see.
I hope not, because I didn't want to see Kofi Mania Part Uno.
I didn't either. And that's not a disrespect to Kofi. I enjoy what he's done in the ring.
And then obviously...
But that's just how... I'm ready. I want to see if it's going to come on to anybody. We'll get into it a little bit. There's 2 superstars that I want. Kofi is not on that list.
So who do you think walks out? Obviously, you're going to probably pick Drew McIntyre. We just picking Drew McIntyre to win everything until WrestleMania. Sheamus is going to be the last man out. We talked about this before, because Sheamus possibly win the Elimination Chamber, set up for like a Fastlane rematch.
Here's what's going to happen.
WrestleMania rematch.
I'm going to do percentages, because that's what I do. I'm a numbers guy. I'm going to say 80% Drew McIntyre, 20% Sheamus, and the rest 0. I think it's either going to be, I'm pretty sure it's Drew. There's a slight chance that there's a Sheamus, and then Sheamus holds the title for, I think we have 1 more pay-per-view between now and WrestleMania. He loses it to Drew McIntyre. One of those quick, weird changeovers, which WWE does. And then Drew McIntyre, at WrestleMania, I think Drew, no matter what, will be the champion.
So let's move on to the Women's Championship match. Lacey Evans, even though she's pregnant for some reason, will be wrestling, which is not something that you normally do when you are confirmed pregnant.
Yeah, that's different.
So that'll be different. I wonder how WWE is going to try to explain this. Are they going to try to make us just ignore the fact that she's competing while she's pregnant? Because, again, this is like a weird thing, because you have people who are legitimately pregnant, and then you have people who are kayfabe pregnant. So it's kind of weird, because we're supposed to obviously acknowledge Becky Lynch. WWE reminded us Becky Lynch is pregnant. She has to go away for a while. But they're also going to tell us Lacey Evans is pregnant and she's still going to wrestle. And we're supposed to pretend both exist in the same universe.
And here's the thing, too. And they also, if you saw on SmackDown this past week, Seth Rollins acknowledged himself as a father on TV. So that was interesting.
So wrestling's kind of weird, because wrestling is fake, but then it's real at the same time. Like if you watch a superhero movie, you're in that universe. If you're outside a superhero movie, you're in that universe. Here we have like a mix of the 2. I guess some movies might do that as well, but maybe Martin Sheen will play Martin Sheen in a movie or something, or like Jay Leno will play Jay Leno in a movie. So you have a kind of a mix, but in wrestling, we obviously have that mix as well, where we acknowledge real life things and fake things, and then they try to exist together world. Becky Lynch, really pregnant, can't wrestle. And then Lacey Evans, pregnant, can wrestle. The same universe.
Very interesting. That's to sell WWE and the sports entertainment works.
Who's leaving here with the championship? I'm thinking maybe Lacey Evans, because obviously we got the Charlotte Flair thing going on. Maybe having the belt will make that a little bit better.
You know what? I'm with you. I think Lacey Evans is the choice. I mean, right now, her paired up with Ric Flair, no matter where this goes and what outcome it happens, it's good for her. I think it's cool for Rick because he's on TV more and he's still the Nate. So I think Lacey Evans wins the match.
Moving on to the U.S. Championship triple threat, Bobby Lashley, Keith Lee, and Riddle.
That is the toughest one of the night to pick, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm okay with any one of those competitors winning that match. I mean, I'm just going to go with the bro. I'm going to go with Riddle. I mean, it's a hunch, not a strong hunch, but, it's just me more selfishly wanting to see him win the match.
Is Kevin Owens going to leave the Elimination Chamber with the WWE Championship? I'll preface that by starting out with who we got. We got Jey Uso, who's also been in Elimination Chambers, thanks to the tag teams.
Yeah.
And I think he might have been, was he in it last year as well as a singles competitor? I feel like he was. I don't have the Jey Uso stats in front of me, but I feel like he has been in it more than once outside of just being in the tag team.
He definitely was with the tag. I don't know.
This will be Kevin Owens' first ever Elimination Chamber as long as he's been in WWE. So it's weird we see people like Kofi Kingston, how many they've been in, and then we have people like Kevin Owens who've been in 0. King Corbin, he's been in a few before. Sami Zayn, Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, they've all been in them before. My thing is, I think Kevin Owens is going to win this Elimination Chamber. And then the winner faces Roman Reigns that night. So is Kevin Owens leaving with the championship in one night?
No, I have Cesaro winning.
You have Cesaro winning?
Yes, I do have Cesaro winning, and I think, unfortunately, it makes 0 sense, but WWE makes 0 sense.
It makes 0 sense to have whoever wins this fight for the championship the same night, especially when you don't have to have
especially
the winner.
Cesaro, though, because Cesaro's been on a freaking roll lately.
And especially for the fact that we have another pay-per-view coming up. So the winner of this match could be the number 1 contender. It doesn't even have to be for WrestleMania. It could be for Fastlane. You could literally have someone win this that doesn't make sense like Cesaro, fight Roman Reigns at Fastlane for the championship, and we'll say, and hype that up for 3 or 4 weeks before Fastlane, and that still have nothing to do with WrestleMania, and still have your WrestleMania match that you still want to build up. So you could still have a random winner without him facing the champion that night. He could face him Friday on SmackDown.
Here's what I'll say. The reason why I picked Cesaro, number 1, he's on fire. He's been killing it. And number 2, I believe, the storyline they're going to make it out of is, there's Cesaro coming up short again, I think is what's going to happen. Oh, he did a great job. He's on a roll. Roman Reigns just steamrolls him. That's what I see. And it's not a disrespect to Cesaro because, in my opinion, he is one of the best pound-for-pound wrestlers in the business, and I think WWE has been underutilizing him for years and years and years. He will be a future, whether it's Universal or WWE champion, he is going to be one someday. That is, I'm going to stamp my guarantee on that one.
So that leads to my next question. I think you answered. Over, under, that the championship match with Roman Reigns, whoever faces Roman Reigns, 5 minutes. Over, under.
Under. 100%. Because whoever, and that's the part of the problem of having Roman Reigns face the winner is he's going to pick up the scrap, so to speak. That competitor,
it's going to be like Edge when he cashed in that Money in the Bank and beat John Cena.
It's going to be like a Brock Lesnar kind of a match, like where Brock Lesnar just dominates. He's out in 2-3 minutes. He's not there. He's not there for a long time. He's just there to win, cash out, and I'll see you later.
And that really kind of defeats the purpose because this Elimination Chamber match is probably going to last 30 minutes because they all do.
Yep.
It takes 5 minutes for each competitor to get in there. So this is a 30-minute match, a once-a-year match. I mean, obviously there's the other match going on, but it's like the Royal Rumble. It's literally like having the Royal Rumble only to have the winner just thrown away immediately.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to take it a
and
step
it to
further.
mean nothing the night after.
I'm booking that. I'm going to call it one segment because it really is one segment. It's winner of the Chamber faces Roman Reigns, pretty much, right back to back.
You think it's going to be back to back, or
I do. I think it's going to be right back to back because Roman Reigns is he's the Almighty. He's the he's the tribal chief. So if he wants it, he's going to have it. And I think that little segment right there, I shouldn't say little. I think you'll see 35 minutes of Chamber. You'll see 10 minutes of half of it Roman Reigns coming to the ring, taking his time. Mm-hmm. And then you'll see like 5 minutes or so, maybe 4 minutes of demolish, win, walks out.
Well, we'll find out this week. We'll find out how long this pay-per-view is going to be in general. Right now, there's only 5 matches, with one of them being that squash match. So really, there's only 4 solid matches, I guess, so far for this show. I imagine they'll throw something else in there. They got to find something for the pre-show as well.
It'll be about a 2.5-hour show.
I think Vengeance Day this past week was about 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes. Perfect. A perfect time. Yeah. No wasted segments. I want to say they only had like 5 matches.
It was perfect. And here's the thing. That was one, we were talking before the show. That was one of the better shows I've seen. I should say one of the best all year, tongue in cheek, but one of the best I've seen in a while. I thought every match was really good. Again, Raquel Gonzalez is just, she's taken not only NXT, but WWE and the sports entertainment world by storm. Again, I called it first back,
and
back
now
in
that they
2020.
won. And here's the thing. I didn't even realize this. And this is why I said the winner doesn't really matter as much, but I guess I didn't realize that now Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai are going to face the tag team champions, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, in a match down the road. So if I knew that the winners were facing the main roster tag champs, I might have put a little more thought in who I was going to pick. But we'll talk that and see when that match happens, as well as wrap up the Elimination Chamber and much more next week. So for this week's edition, he's Brandon. I'm Jared. This has been the Heel to the Face podcast.